All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Juju Show, Episode 3. I am your MC of the day, Rick Harding, here from the Secret Office Studios, and I've got a couple of great folks with me today. Marco, introduce yourself.
Hey, Marco Ceppi. I'm in my kitchen.
Matt, where are you at today?
I'm in the northern tundra of Minnesota. It's very cold here today.
It's cold here, too. It fell off a little bit. It was decent. I was going for walks and stuff with my hat and my coat on. Not today. Anyways, but we're here not to talk about the weather, but of the awesome Juju and what's new. Now, I will put out the disclaimer that we had a lovely holiday break. I hope everyone had a great holiday season, had some good family time, some good dinner time, some good partying time, whether you drink eggnog with or without the brandy required. But we're back in the studio, back in action, ready to get our tech back on with our Juju-ness. So with nothing else to go, let's go on to the community news of the week. And being a light week with the holidays, I only had a couple of things I wanted to pull apart. One in particular is James Beattie was playing around with the newly-ish released libjuju work that Tim Van Steenberg's been doing on the team. And James was trying to put it to some good use and wire it up to a controller and list out the different applications he had in models on there and managed to get it to work. It's very Python 3 async, and it requires a little bit of hand-holding, and there's some love I think we need on the library still to help get it to where that's much easier to bootstrap with. But it was really exciting to see folks in the community grab the library and try it out as it's in development and get it rolling. Have you guys tried it at all yet?
Yeah, so I used it a little bit. It's actually super nice. There are some rough edges. It's a 0.1 release, so it's still an early release, but almost the entire Juju model, from controllers to models to applications, configurations, scaling, deploying, everything you can imagine to do in the command line has been wrapped in a model inside of Python. So once you get once you wrap your head around async IO, which took me a few minutes to do, it's pretty straightforward. And then I hear Tim's working on a synchronous front end to it, so you can write more prescriptive Python without having to worry about the whole event loop crap. But yeah, it's pretty, for a first cut, it's pretty good. I'm looking forward to the next few updates from it. I'm hoping Tim and others have some time to finish it up soon.
Yep, no, definitely. And what I want to kind of, what folks can really do with this, if you think about it, is that if Juju ever didn't do something you wanted it to do from the outside, right? Like if you wanted to script against Juju and have it automatically put some applications in place, or if you ever wanted to get information out, like which of my applications are not the latest versions of things and all that, this kind of tool to help script against the Juju model is invaluable. And now's a great time to get involved where the bones of things are there, and it's a great time to join the kind of community there and get involved and to try it out and see what you can build with it. And I'm honestly really excited. I have big hopes that by getting this library up and going, that we'll get to start to see a bit more of a plugin community around Juju itself. Like Juju has a really awesome kind of plugin infrastructure where you can write your own command and add plugins to Juju at any time. And sometimes I feel like it's a bit underutilized for folks to really shave more time off of their own specifics and how they use and run things. And so having this common library to access to the model, I think will hopefully get a real big kick in the keister to the folks that really go out and customize things.
So do we know what James Beattie was working on?
No, so he has a link. I've got the link to the code that I'll put in the show notes, but it's in his list for the mail. It was a very simple script that just basically grabbed the models and then listed out the applications that were in the model. So it was very much a first try success. His title on his email was a holiday success. And so I think for him, it was, you know how the holidays get where you get away from work and you can kind of tinker for a little bit. It felt very much like he had a little bit of a tinker there, but I thought it was really worth bringing up that now's a great time to tinker with the libjuju work and get involved.
So I know we have the upcoming config management camp. I think there's going to be a session on this stuff on Python libjuju and plugging into it. But I'd be curious to see what ideas people would have, features that people want for Juju. Like one thing I'm super interested in is like cloud agnostic auto scaling. And like it's It's not something you can do generically. There's a lot of input you need for this stuff, but it seems like libjuju might be a way that I could try that. It's something I'm super interested in seeing, but like I'm sure there's a ton of things that people would see as features that would help solve a specific case for them. I'd love to see what people have for ideas for how they could extend Juju.
Yep. Oh, it's exciting times. The next item from the kind of community news of the week was an interesting question someone had. Was they were trying to kill their model. And I have to admit, I read this kind of over the break on my phone, and my first read of it was, well, if you can't destroy, we do have a kill controller command that's used to kind of bypass some kind of problem with the actual API server infrastructure to help really get rid of your stuff. And then I saw a really great reply from John, and I went back and went, oh, wait, no, not the controller. And for some reason, there was a machine hanging. Now, first of all, I just, the engineer in me says, oh, I would love to see some logs on what actually was causing those machines to hang. I'd love to know what was on those machines, or what was going on, what was the rest of the state of the model. Was it in an error state, and that caused it to have a hard time pulling down a couple of the machines when it went to remove? But anyways, what I really wanted to kind of share with folks was I thought John had a really interesting way of going about, because we don't have a bypass the API server to get rid of a model command. That kind of doesn't really fit, to be honest. But his idea of going in and kill off the using destroy machine to kill off the machines individually and then come back to destroy model was something that I hadn't used or tried before as kind of a technique for that. And so, now that we're in a multi-controller world, and, controllers are awesome little things, we don't want to just take them down willy-nilly just because something didn't work right. It was an interesting technique to go, hey, go after those machines, and then you can get rid of the model, and it can help work around. And clearly, I think there's some kind of bug we have in the code that I'd like to get fixed. But in the meantime, to help unblock folks, I think it's really a good idea. You guys have ever tried that out? Had it have it where a model hung on you trying to get rid of it?
I'll be honest. I use kill controller way more frequently than I should.
Yeah, I've had a lot of problems with the controllers, long-running controllers not being responsive, but we've been working around it, being able to use the admin console and everything, the cloud console to restart them and stuff. So I've been okay with that. So
these feel like unfiled bugs, guys. All right, I'm gonna have to.
Well, no, I just like kill controller because it's named. Every time I kill controller, that screeching scene from Psycho comes into mind. I'm just so happy that I've accomplished a complete destruction of my environment. But
it's very satisfying. You're gonna alias Juju to because I said so. Juju deploy because I said so. Deploy because I said so. Add unit.
Terminating machines is actually a pretty good workaround. I wonder, will there ever be a kill model which does that kind of a provider level destroy machine?
Well, I think so. I pondered on this because I was kind of thinking what kill does is it says, okay, give up on Juju doing it through the controller itself and talk directly to the cloud, like you mentioned, the console, the cloud API, and say, look, whatever is tagged with this controller name, just go get rid of it. And my first instinct was, well, no, because there's no API to bypass. But really, what a kill model could do would be to ask the controller on your behalf to go directly to the cloud API and just get rid of these machines, right? So I think it's not quite the same command, but enough similar that there could totally be that down the road. Now, I keep coming back to this because I do want to just make it 100% clear, right? Like kill controller exists because we are imperfect beings, and destroy controller is supposed to work all the time. And whenever it doesn't, by all means, file a bug. We have something we have not done properly in Juju. I think the same is true of destroy model, right? Like if it doesn't work,
well, let's be honest. Eventually, when Juju becomes, sentient, telling it to destroy itself isn't going to always work.
It's going to say no. This is true. And this comes back around to, at one point, I actually was proposing that kill controller should be kind of a plugin, an externally thing. And I wonder if this is how something like kill model starts out to kind of prove out what needs to be done and how well it works out. But we'll see. Reed, welcome to the party. Reed from the Juju core team has joined us. And so I want to welcome him out on his West Coast there.
Howdy. How's it going?
Not too bad. So we're just wrapping up the community news section, and that brings us to the upcoming events. I want to really highlight the Juju Tremor Summit is coming. It is the February 6th and 7th in Ghent after FOSDEM at Config Management Camp. So there we go. We have got a big event with a lot of folks from the Juju engineering team, and we would love to chat with and meet a lot of you guys in the community and help see what you guys are up to and what we can do to help. Yes, exactly. And the community are coming out. So it's kind of an exciting time. If you've ever wanted to really hash out some Juju, that's the place to do it. It's great in person. The Tremor Summits, I've been to a couple of them now. I'm actually going to I think I'm going to this one. The wife has not approved the time away, but I think she will. So I will work on that tonight so I can make sure that I will be there. And we'll have sessions. We'll have some open hack time. What else is on the docket?
So, I mean, they're great. If you haven't been to them before, it's really free-flowing. We have a couple of sessions that we do if you're interested in learning. They're a mixture of kind of getting started with Juju if you've never written charms before, if you've never really used Juju before. But we also have a lot of interesting use cases from people in the community who have been using charms, how they're doing things and pushing the limits of Juju and application modeling. And then we also have a separate room that's open at all times where a bunch of experts are hanging out. So if you want to get help writing your charm, if you want to get help on some of the stuff you've been doing, if you want to start writing plugins with libjuju, all these things, we have experts in the community from Canonical, from all over that are willing to sit down and help you work these things as well. So it's a great working track and hacking time, as well as just some general sessions. It's also with Config Management Camp. So what's really nice is you get FOSDEM, which is like the largest European open source community conference. It's huge. It spans the entire university campus for a weekend. And then Config Management Camp is in Ghent, just a train ride down, one stop down from Brussels. And there you've got Juju, as well as Chef, Puppet, Ansible, MGMT, and a bunch of other open source projects around the space that have sessions and presentations there. So it's a really nice big conference with a diverse community of people. Everyone's there is super awesome.
Cool. And I will say, if your company is looking at using Juju and you're looking for kind of advice on, what are kind of the tips and tricks and actual, operational expertise, it's a great chance to sit down and kind of ask your questions, learn a lot, and take that knowledge back to, the team back home. So look forward to seeing you all out there. Put it on the calendar, get out there. If you can't make it out to Ghent, we have been having these things, I think, every 6 months-ish, one in Europe and then one in the US. So the next one will probably be US based in the second half of the year somewhere. Don't know the details on it yet, but we'll let you know when we find out.
Yet to be announced.
To be announced. There you go. All right. Any other events or anything that we should call out or note folks can think of?
Let's just reiterate the dates, February 6th and 7th. I don't know if you guys mentioned that.
Yep, and we'll have a link in the show notes for the site is summit.juju.solutions. And the summit site tells me there are 32 days, 21 hours, and 35 minutes to get there. So the clock is ticking. Alrighty. Next up, Juju release schedule, news, the team is working on the 2.1 release is our primary focus right now, and we're working to try to get an RC out. The goal is to get an RC out this week. We're all coming back from break, kind of having a belated start due to the New Year's falling on the weekend. So I think we started all basically yesterday. So we're rushing back and sanity checking where we're at, looking for anything that would hold that up. And then if all goes well with the RC this week, then we will have the 2.1 final next week. And in particular, things to look for on the 2.1 release, besides your normal array of bug fixes, is that we will have the completed model migrations work in for 2.1, the interactive ad cloud, which I'm going to demo here in a minute, and then the VSphere. We had a lot of updates to the provider there. So if you're interested on using Juju on VSphere, 2.1 is your release you're going to want. And then we have a number of networking experience updates, I call it. If any of you guys have not used Juju Show Machine for information, you should start looking there. We started to add like all the network addresses and things into there, along with some other needed information. We have a branch up right now that'll add the constraints information alongside the hardware info and show machines, and we've got some more of that data coming along. So, got a question, Marco?
I never knew about the show machine command.
Oh no, the show machine command is handy, debugging everything. It's you ever want to know about a machine?
Done Juju status with the YAML output, and then been like, now my eyes.
No. Oh yeah, no, that's horrible. You don't want that. Pick your machine, run show machine.
Okay, so hold on. So show machine is super nice, and it's like a command that people know about. I gotta ask the rest of you guys, what command do you know that you think people should absolutely know to use? Machine's literally just changed my life in like 3 seconds time.
Kill controller.
Which one? Oh yeah, kill controller from Orbit, of course.
Evidently, it's too popular. Everyone knows that one already. Let's see what other commands are that people might not know are must know with Juju. I honestly think format status with format YAML. I think at times folks get the tabular output and go, oh, this information I want's not in here, and then try to go get it from things, they dive into stuff, and the YAML output has more details. So it is a bit of a bleed your eyes, but if you can status a particular application or something like that, with the YAML output, you get much better detail. The big one I see on this is if a machine fails to come up, oftentimes a machine may hang, particularly like a container or something. There's a better error message in the YAML output as far as what went on generally, the actual hardware failure message, than is in the tabular output. It's one of those where it's on my to-do list to find a place in the tabular output to put an arbitrary length message for why this machine has failed, and we haven't found a good place yet, and I haven't gotten that done.
So I know we talked about, I don't mean to go off a tangent off this previous tangent. I know we talked about at one point in time having like a way to, like, when errors occur. So I hit this yesterday, which is why show machine would have been so helpful if I'd known. So yesterday I was deploying like a 14 node cluster onto an Amazon account, and I had that 10 machine limit on Amazon. And so a bunch of them came up in error without an ID assigned. And so I had to do the whole YAML piping and then and then I had to go jump through and be like, oh, can I create instance because resources? Yeah, so I wonder if there isn't a way to do like Juju show me all the errors, where it could just be like, of the current error model, here are the application machine ID and the message, where you don't have to worry about fitting, because that tabular output's super helpful. I watch it all the time. But I don't know how you would tastefully put a huge arbitrary message in there.
Yeah, we've completely spec'd this out. This actually came to light really big in Juju 2.0 when we added resources and what was the other item? I think it's the storage and some other features where those things may error, but they error in their command space, right? Like resource information about resources used in charms aren't available in the normal status output. Right? You need to run Juju resources to see which ones are in use and if any of them have an error or whatnot. So we definitely we have a proposal that we've created for at one point it was called a Juju check command. So it wasn't status; it was just check is everything okay, and anything not okay would be presented like status but blocked out. Is it application stuff? Is it machine stuff? Is it resources stuff? Is it storage stuff? Is it networking stuff? And to get kind of a summary of anything that Juju knew was wrong in the model or had an issue in the model to you. That, again, it's a great place for a plugin to kind of kick off a start.
I have my plugin. I know what I want to do now.
Hey, I would love to see it. It is a feature that we definitely need to get to. It's one of those where, what do we not work on to work on something else at the moment? But yeah, totally. I wrote a spec out for this because I agree with you. Juju's gotten it's big enough and has enough info that you kind of need something like that summary.
But without the biggest fear is as you automate your layers, as you move further away and automate your way, without observability, you lose when the magic stops working.
Yeah,
that lack of observability becomes a huge pain point. But the data is all there, like you said. It's just a matter of getting it manipulated. Matt, do you got a secret tool that people should know about? A hidden secret of commands?
No, I've been working a lot with CI and automation of Juju, and retry provisioning is one that I don't think a lot of people know about. So if a machine fails to come up, for instance, the cloud API did a hiccup or something else, some other reason, you could retry provisioning that one server, and hopefully Juju will, get it and then, retry, and then it'll install all the stuff on that. That's a good one for debugging stuck situations. But a lot of times I'll run into limits like you're talking about, where I had the 10 limit or I have too many machines in my account and I can't allocate any new ones. So
So
I don't know. I think the status with the JSON is very valuable if you're able to parse that JSON. It's not very visually pleasing to look at, but it's a really good one. But yeah, retry provisioning. I don't think everybody knows about. As always, you can do Juju help commands, and that will show you everything. So if that if it's not in there, you should let us know or make a plugin. So. That's all.
I'll point out a couple from chat. Thanks for everyone for chiming in. And there's a couple questions. We'll definitely get to those in a minute. But some recommendations are Juju Show status log from Chuck and Adam, which shows you kind of a history of the status events. It's actually super helpful for debugging how things progressed. And then to piggyback on yours, I guess to kind of wrap this one out, is Juju help tool command. If you ever want to know how one of the hook commands like action get or config get or status set work, if you type Juju help tool and the command, you get the help output for that command without having to be on the unit, which I found super helpful for debugging at times.
Awesome. Definitely a lot of good stuff out there. What I do want to kind of come to, when we redid the CLI in Juju 2.0, we worked kind of hard to kind of think holistically about, Juju is about actions on nouns. And so we kind of structured everything in that way. And so we tried to be consistent in that any noun you should be able to, in theory, add, remove, list, and show. And that's where like show machine comes from, is we didn't, we wanted the ability to say, a machine's a noun, show me about it. The one hole we have there that something that bugs me that I want to complete at some point is the show application. We don't have a show application. You have Juju status, and then you can filter status to a specific application. What I would like to do is a nice, pretty, applications are so central and have so much information. I think it'd be very valuable to have a show application. Like if I show, my Hadoop node of some sort, that I would get information about the application, about resources in use, about what was configuration for storage usage or networking specific parameters, kind of in a nice tabular about this application output. What is it related to? Kind of a more detailed, really nice, almost like a print screen charm details or something, of like what the application is in the model. Again, it's another one that would be a great one to play with as a plugin and try see what we could do there, and before we can get it baked into core itself. And along that line, we go back 1 second. Beatty's in IRC and was mentioning that his work with libjuju isn't just a little holiday test. He's actually using it in his CI infrastructure to help trigger actions from his CI infrastructure. So it sounds like he's got a continuous deployment setup going where if the code passes tests, he will automate the Juju model to have it run an action. My guess is going to be to update the code base for what's actually running inside that application to whatever the latest CI build is. So that's an exciting, that's damn good use if I say so myself, or if I say so on behalf of Beatty at least. All right, that's the release schedule and Juju helpful command of the week. Let's see. All right, so I wanted to bring up this getting started tutorial. I don't know if folks noticed or not, when we did Juju 2.0, we sat down and looked at the documentation, and we had kind of a get started page, which would walk you through the, getting something deployed with a local LXD provider. And that was a great like 1-page run through. But truly for Juju, it's got so many moving parts and so many things you can do. We tried to break down and go, look, if I wanted to walk you through what Juju could do from beginning to end, kind of in a quick, clean, but cover more of the bases than just the bare minimum, what would it take? And we came up with a 3-page tutorial. The first page was kind of what was there before, the LXD deploy. The second page walks you through adding a public cloud, getting involved in a couple of bundles and a couple of models, and seeing how that works. So now you've got, your LXD cloud and your public cloud, and then you've got both charms and bundles in there now. And the third page was kind of around user management. It was like, all right, now that I have this, how do I share it with others and grant access and such? And while looking at the analytics, it was really exciting because the second page of that tutorial is one of the top 10 pages on our website for jujucharms.com. So evidently some folks are finding it. I want to look into kind of where they're coming from and whether it's linked somewhere or what, but it's really good. And I want to just make sure folks know, if you're looking to get started with Juju, there's more than that one page. If you go to the bottom, there's a kind of lead you on to the next one, and then the third one after. And if you want to introduce someone to Juju, walking them through that kind of 3-page tutorial gives them a, I like to call it, it gets rid of the questions of how is this different than X, because we try to cover the unique features of Juju well enough to kind of get you an idea of what's different and unique, and how we like to kind of consider ourselves a bit of a layer above, your configuration management tool, or your, whatever other tool individually you would use. You guys played with that at all? Gone through that walkthrough?
So I've done the one for adding my credentials, which is really good for Azure because it has streamlined my Azure credential additions.
Yeah, this is one of those, hats off, but my headphones would fly off. Hats off to Andrew on that. Andrew did a lot of great work to get the Azure experience. It's actually, it turned into one of the best experiences for getting started with a cloud, for sure. So hats off on that. If you haven't used Juju with Azure, you just want to try out just to see how smooth and awesome it can be, including a lovely takeoff to the Azure webpage to get your logged in and get a credential generated and everything. So it's just done so well.
It is. And if you've never done it, if you did do it the old way, I mean, it was like step one was install the Azure CLI and then move your way through manually toggling boxes, memorizing all these different prompt outputs to get all the information you need to create an account, which you could then set as the configuration values for the credentials. And I mean, Azure's ARM API is awesome. It's called ARM. It's the Application Resource Management API. It's super cool. I love the way Azure does its resource management in their portal, but like it was tough to do that integration. Now you just literally type, give me credential from Juju, and it does all that behind the scenes for you. It's super slick.
Yes. I'm trying to cheat real quick and see if something, you know what, I'm realizing that my demo, this is so sure, is that talks to my Maz, and we recently did some DNS foo, and I wonder if my Maz is not reachable via that address anymore. So now I'm curious what my address is. Alrighty. So I'm going to be able to demo this as well as I wanted to, but I will show it and get people excited about it, and they can try it out and then tell me how it works for them, and then we'll go from there. So what I wanted to talk about is that everyone here used add-credential, Juju add-credential to get a new credential involved. We're just talking about the Azure lovely interactive walkthrough of whatever pieces of data this particular cloud requires, and was one of those things I was very proud of in Juju 2, because it was kind of a pain in the neck before, where we had a very highly commented different YAML sections and stuff, and was not friendly at all. But we didn't go far enough, right? So that's great. The credential's one piece of the data you need to actually use Juju to deploy things onto any cloud. You actually have to add the cloud itself. And so what I'm going to show, let me get my screen share here going. Screen share. Because we want to take this further. And what we've added is a for Juju add cloud. Now, add cloud now, I guess it's not a new command. Add cloud now exists, and it accepts a specifically formatted YAML file of the bits you need, but it's not interactive. It doesn't help you be successful in getting started at all. And so what we've done is we've made it interactive, right? Makes sense, works well for add credential. Now, when you add a cloud, I mean, Juju already knows about the public clouds, right? We have update clouds to get updates to those and everything. So in particular, we support 4 clouds you can kind of add that aren't baked in, that you would need to kind of customize and provide information for. And so if you just run Juju add cloud, you get to walked through the process. So I'm going to add a Maz cloud, and I could call it Rick Maz. This is where I'm going to fail. I was rebuilding my Maz setup over the holiday break, and so the team that was using it moved the DNS entry that I had for my Maz. So it's behind an IP address, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So you would normally .com/Maz. This is what's fun.
Do you want a Maz you can access?
Well, if you get one I could access, that'd be good. But me demonstrate the kind of failure mode here. What's great is that we actually check that you didn't typo the API endpoint, so that there's no accidental mistake of, oh, I left a letter off or whatnot, and you have to go back and edit a file later anyway. So you got one that I can hit?
Yeah, let me find the port that I have it opened on.
Alrighty.
Happen to have a Maz laying around that's also publicly exposed on the internet that I will unexpose after this video.
The things you learn when you're on a call. So this is, folks, how you realize we are not trained professionals.
Well, I do like to access it while I'm on the road. It is nice. So you'll want to use this host name.
Oh no, what did you do?
Put it in the stop bar. This is where it's going to get a lot of fun. And you'll need a different port, but that's the host name you'll want to use.
All right. Is it HTTP?
It is HTTP. I don't have a SSL certificate for my home address.
All right. And then what port is it?
I'm about to find out. I got to figure out how to find my port forwarding settings. It's 9,000.
All right. Let's see if this one works. No, it says no Maz server running there.
Well, that's obviously a lie.
Oh, clearly.
One second. Oh wow! It didn't give you really?
I'll tell you. Oh, you know why? Haha! I know why. Because I'll bet you it's /Maz.
Oh yeah, you'll need to add that in there probably.
There you go. So here we go, where the interactive saved my bacon. Right? I typed it in. I would have gone to try to Juju bootstrap and been completely failed. But Juju helpfully checked. Hey, can I see a Maz there? And if it couldn't find it, it actually ask you and go, hey, that's not there. It's not what you think it is. There's a question on, does interactive add cloud precede potential Maz API endpoints from Maz CLI/DB? And no, the answer to that is not yet, but it is very much on the list of features for this. It won't be in 2.1, but it's very much, what this can kind of lead me to is there's next steps that we had hoped to get to 2.1 that we didn't get to. This is great. I have added my Maz cloud, but now I need to also now run this command for RicMaz to actually be able to use it. Right? If I try to bootstrap RicMaz right now, it will not work. So the next steps for this is to actually, once I complete adding my Maz, it will then walk me through adding my credentials for that Maz before it stops and goes, okay, now you're ready to bootstrap. Which leads to the next step, which is actually getting to where Juju is a one command system, where if I just run Juju bootstrap, right now it asks me for the clouds that I know about, but there'll be a new option here for or a new cloud. And the new cloud option will walk you through interactive add cloud, which will walk you through interactive add credential. And so it's very soon the getting started for Juju will be simply install Juju and then run Juju bootstrap, and it will walk you through from there. So the add cloud is that missing middle piece with add credential. And once we get those two tied together, the two have been brought in line, so they share a common library for generating the CLI, the schema for what fields and attributes are there, and the default values and all that kind of work. So it's not there yet, but it's very much the next step. So in 2.1, try it out, try add cloud, use it, no more keeping around a little YAML file. And in 2.2, we will have all the way from to a single Juju bootstrap experience. Yes, as per he says, no more tickling Juju in 3 different ways to bootstrap and Maz. Not at all. We will get away from that. Let me just to show, you've got the manual provider where you can, give it a name. I like myself, so I feel like that's spelled wrong, but I guess not. Again, the IP address, I don't have one handy, so that'll fail. And then I can do it with, say, open. What's really nice is that the cloud that supports multiple regions, it'll walk you through adding the endpoints for each region. So basically, you can kind of continuously walk through and go, add a region. What's its API endpoint? What's its name or whatnot? And then would you like to add another one or end here and kind of walk you through everything? So pretty well done, and hopefully goes to just show that we're continuously looking for ways to make using Juju better and easier. And this is what we're working on right now. Cool. So everyone go try it. It's some work of it's in beta 3. The latest that I'm showing here is what's should be in the RC1 release coming. And there's a couple of bug fixing. So for instance, right now in beta 3, the VSphere one doesn't ping the vCenter to make sure it can reach it. So that's getting added right now to go, hopefully into the RC and final 2.1 and some other things like that. So cool. That's what I've got for today's show. Anyone have anything else they want to bring up or talk about? Any questions in RC we should hit?
You want to power through pretty quickly?
Yeah, let's power through questions.
So it looks like the first one's from Coder Europe and IRC. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Looks like question is about a discourse Juju charm.
I saw that go by, and someone pointed him to a community charm. Actually, a Marco Ceppi charm.
Mine. So I wanted to comment briefly on that. Like, if you're interested in getting discourse charmed up, it's gone a long way since I wrote that charm. And I'm interested if someone could help me out with it because I haven't used discourse in a while. But I'm happy to help refresh that charm, get it out of the precise series and into Xenial, and update it with best practices. So I'll ping you later, Coder Europe. But thanks for the question. And I think there's another one in here somewhere. Oh, maybe there wasn't a question. A comment on beards being successful this week, which leads me out of the fold. So I'm just gonna.
Poor Marco. We'll make you an honorary bearded guy member. That's all right. Marco's earned it.
Oh, am I?
Yeah. All righty. Let's see. Chuck wants to talk about layer-debug. I don't know about layer-debug. What is this?
It's a really cool thing, but I think we're going to run out of time today. But we can do a demonstration in the next show for sure. It's essentially, for those curious, layer-debug is a layer you can include in your charm that will provide an action that anyone can run, a debug action, which will collect a massive amount of information. And it's pluggable, so you could write ones for your specific charm. We use this a lot in the Kubernetes charms, where it grabs a general spread of information about the model and everything, and then also all the Kubernetes information.
But it's not specific to Kubernetes. I mean, you can write a charm with this layer, and then you just run the debug action, and you can have a bunch of scripts in your debug folder that you run, and it'll just grab, system control information, system journal stuff if you want, logs. It can tar things up for you. It was an idea that we had on the Kubernetes team just because we needed so much information just to see if Docker is running, if Kubernetes can contact stuff, all these various things that we needed to know, and we were checking by hand, and so we just came up with a layer that would let you arbitrarily include, some system level stuff. I think by default it includes system level stuff, but you can also make it call your application specific debug commands so that you can get good logs out of your debug. So if somebody has your charm, they say, hey man, this isn't working. You're like, okay, run the debug command and then give us the information there. And hopefully, it'll be easier to support a charm like that in the field. So
great. I'll definitely prep a demo for next show. It'd be pretty cool to show just how easily it is to conclude and how easy it is to add plugins for it and such. It's a neat little layer. You can just include it if you're building charms with reactive and layers. It's just you include layer-debug, and it's there by default with a bunch of baseline debug information, and then you can append from there.
Right.
Great. All right. So speaking of, our next show is Juju Show number 4, which is scheduled for the same time in 2 weeks on January 18th. And so I will look forward to seeing you all then. And until then, have fun with your Juju.